Good morning. So today I'm going to be making a quick tune in the stream. I didn't know whether it was going to be like a lush dream sounding song, like something that was really chill, or if I was going to go for something a little bit more upbeat and boppy. So I'll wait until like the 10-minute mark to decide. Hopefully the 50 minutes remaining will be enough time in which I can actually make that tune. Thank you for the happy 50th stream wishes, Sam. I appreciate you. Same for you, Mance and Jellystar. I'm practicing piano as we speak, you say. That's dope, actually. I thought about doing, like, if I do a chill, like a Lush Dream style song for the stream today, probably gonna use those chords. I like that. Oh, wait. Hi, Taylor. How are you? Yeah. Okay. I think we got it. I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well, Taylor, and it's nice to have you back, actually. So since today is my 50th stream, I'm actually going to be making a quick tune in the stream today. There's a few times in the first 50 streams that people have asked about how long does it take to make a song, or what do you use to make a song, like simple questions like that that I have given answers to, but I haven't actually shown. And I know for me, as a student of art, as we all kind of are to some degree, I learn better when I see things than when somebody tells me a thing. So today, I'm going to be turning this little progression into a tune. Okay. Are we at 5 minutes yet? Not 3, but I can start. I can start now. We can start to show I guess, the gear. That might help. So this is the progression that I'm going to use, but I'm not going to be playing it on this piano. This is kind of my piano that I usually use only for streams. Now, anyways, it's been designated as a stream instrument because of its position to the window, so I always get nice lighting, and because it has weighted keys, so when I'm playing like more piano things, it emulates the feel of a real piano much more effectively. Hello, Alejandro. Hello. I'm glad that you like Suspended in Love. I don't remember how to play that one all the way. I can play the beginning of it. All right. So this is one of my live keyboards. This is Roland Gaia. Um, I use it mostly for pads and leads. Um, I think I bought it at the time just because I had never had a synthesizer. for live. This was my first live synthesizer, and I liked that it was white, which will become apparent later. Most of my gear actually is white. I tend to gravitate towards white stuff, especially if I'm going to be using it live. This is a Yamaha MX61, which we're going to be using for the piano sound, for the progression that I just played. This is my Micro Korg S. This is used for vocoder, which is what the mic's for. Also, it's the only analog synthesizer that I have, so it has fatter like bass sounds and leads. And this is in a Kai Fire, which is like a drum sequencer, specifically for FL Studio. And I'm going to show a little bit how that works. About halfway through the string, when I start doing more drum articulation. So I'm going to put this down really quick. Okay. So I'm just going to figure out the BPM of the thing that I was playing just now. I'm going to test out a few different ones. So we're just going to record that real quick. I'm going to do a little bit more editing of it after I record it. But I like to get, especially if I'm making something like this, which is going to be more beat oriented, I like to get a couple, like 2 to 4 passes of the piano loop, the piano part that I'm going to be looping. So let me arm that to record. Let me pick the right piano sound. Okay. Let's record that. Should be enough. So, really quickly, I'm gonna... Actually, never mind. I'm just gonna make this a little bit louder, the piano. So right now it sounds like this. I'm gonna make it a little bit louder. So this next part, I'm gonna go ahead and start doing. Actually, let me do bass before I do the drums. Hold off on the drums really quick. We're gonna do bass now. Since this is kind of like my main arrangement keyboard, I use most of the sounds that are built into this if I'm going to be making beats, because later when I call on them when I'm playing live, it's nice to be able to call on everything from a piece of hardware instead of having to rely on like a laptop on stage to pull up all the different sounds. A lot of this information I'm giving out is very particular to me, maybe unimportant, especially to somebody that's not going to be making beats and playing live. But just to explain where the sounds are coming from. Right now, they're all coming from this keyboard. So that's like an upright bass. I don't think I want an upright bass for it. No, I think I do. I can always take it out. have the piano and the bass. These are the two waves. It's mirrored. The image is mirrored, so I'm not really gonna go into too much of like showing the VSTs and stuff like that I'm going to use, because the images are going to be confusing. But I'm just gonna rename these really quickly. I can show you that. I usually rename them. And I will change the color of them. Pianos are always yellow for me. And bass is always blue. That is a purple. Get that dark, dark blue. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to be adding is strings, which you guessed it, are still going to come from this thing here. Still going to be using this. Oh, good morning, Izzy. Welcome to the stream. For the 50th stream, I'm going to be building a track. Maxie says, is your voice coming from the last keyboard? Didn't think so. Oh, I have put my voice in this keyboard though, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We're just focusing on this track. Maybe for a different stream we can do that. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing strings. Again, this keyboard is a Yamaha MX61. The keyboard that I usually stream on is also a Yamaha. I don't necessarily think a company is better than another one, but I do think that we all have built preferences throughout the course of us doing things, especially artistically. And I tend to like the orchestral sounds and the piano that comes out of Yamaha keyboards. Doesn't mean anything. It just means that that's what I've spent the most time on. I stream on Yamaha keyboard all the time, so I'm so used to the way those like strings, the way those pianos, the way the Rhodes, the way the sax sounds. So if you actually look at most of my piano, Rhodes string keyboards, for example, this thing, which is a Rhodes, like a mini Rhodes keyboard, they're all Yamaha. Of course, like vocoding, I prefer chord, especially analog stuff. Roland is what I kind of prefer for synth sounds. I like the Roland synth sounds more than the ones that are in this keyboard. They sound like more dangerous. Jesus Christ. All right, so we're gonna use strings now. Something. I'm gonna mess around with a few. Go high. Stabs. I'm gonna do it with stabs first. Safe Room proposes cyber. I am not. I am not against this. I am not against this. Okay, so. Now is the slightly more time-consuming part, and the reason that this is going to be time-consuming is because one, I'm not going to be using the sound bank on the Yamaha MX-61. I'm going to be using samples on my computer, and I'm going to be using this to trigger them. So it's time for the drums. So I could spend a lot of time doing this. There's a lot of memes about producers spending ages to pick out drum samples, and it's not wholly inaccurate. It's pretty realistic. It takes a long time to like kind of focus on a drum sample that you think you're going to be using. However, for the sake of this stream, because I only have an hour, and because this song probably it won't be on my SoundCloud anytime soon, I'm just going to go as fast as possible, try to pick out some drum sounds. So I'm going to start with a kick. I apologize for me not being able to read most of the comments at this angle, but I promise I will read them. I'm just trying to... Yeah, that's pretty good. So this is FPC. Oh, you can't see it anyway. I'm not gonna bother. Presets empty. Can I even move it where you can see it? You can kind of see it. See those little squares? Those little squares are gonna correlate to some of the squares on here. So I'm gonna take a kick, and I'm gonna put it in here. So if you click that square, it plays the sound of a drum. Hold on, let me plug in my baby. So basically what happens is I take a kick, oh goodness, I am so sorry, y'all. I take a kick sample over here from this list of kicks, and I will drag it over to one of these squares. I've already dragged it to this square, and so if I press the square on this controller that correlates to this square, I'll get that kick sound. And I could take a snare. Oof, I don't want to use that. Let's use a clap. Oh my god. These are awful. Oh, don't I have a snap in here somewhere? Okay. So, and then I'll add that snap here to the square next to the kick, and then now I have a kick and a snap. A little tedious, I know. Some of that information is useless to some of you guys, but in the spirit of explaining everything I'm doing, that is how I'm building my drum rack, which is what it's called. So I need a snare in there. Again, not going to spend too much time on this. Omni, stop. Omni, just pick one. Oh, they all sound awful. Whatever. I'm gonna use that one. Oh my god, am I? Okay, it doesn't sound too bad. Alright, now the next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to send everything. Actually, should I do that again? No, let me not do that. Let me name this strings, and as we know, strings are always brown. Strings are the same color as a piano. I'm just joking. Pianos are yellow, strings are always brown. We're going to take this, save it as its own little loop. Okay, so we're taking that, and we're going to make a loop out of it. It's already kind of a loop, but what I like to do is I like to compress it as if it's its own song. As if it's its own song. So you can see piano, you can see bass here, and you can see strings. You can actually take all of this and you can consolidate it into one waveform by... Do I remember how to do that? This is an awful stream. I'm so sorry, guys. It's to consolidate. It's consolidate. I have to. So we're going to consolidate it all into its own wave, which is this guy up here. So now we have a big chunk that is these all combined. So we'll mute these really quick and we'll just play this chunk, which sounds like this. It sounds exactly how. So it sounds like that. We're going to take this track and we're going to do some side chaining. For those of you that don't know what side chaining is, if you listen to a song, this could be educational for somebody, especially if you listen to a lot of hip hop or lo-fi hip hop. It's particularly popular in lo-fi hip hop, which is where somebody takes an entire song and they side chain it or duck it under a kick drum. And the kick drum being, you remember, I loaded it into the thing. So that sound. What you would do is you would take, oh my god, I'm not going to walk through exactly how to do it in FL Studio because it's kind of convoluted and weird, if I'm being honest. But I'm going to do it really quickly here. I'll show you sonically what it does. Take 3, side chain it to 6, take 6, add a limiter, go limiter, compression, side chain 1, threshold down, and knee is up. Okay. So then you go to your drum thing, your kick again, and now the song will be ducked underneath the kick drum when you play the song. I have to. So if you listen closely, when I play the song, you gotta have to listen real closely. And I know it's a phone speaker, so if you can't hear it or if you don't notice it, it's totally fine. But if you play the song, and you hit the kick drum, see how the song kind of ducks underneath the kick? Essentially, if you play the song and there's too many kick drums, you won't be able to hear the song at all because the song is ducking underneath the kick. But every time the kick comes out, the song can shine. So people will use that a lot when they're making lo-fi hip-hop because a lot of those songs aren't mixed very well because a lot of people are sampling old songs. And the person that's now producing it, they're ripping somebody else's sample. And they have it like floating up here. They can't alter all the levels of it. They can't turn down the bass because it's all one big chunk. It's uneditable, essentially. So if they want their drums to shine through, they'll duck it underneath the kick. Now this is what I'm doing is a very extreme example of that. People don't typically duck or sidechain this much. It's kind of tacky, but I mean, it's art, right? And everything's stylistic. You can do whatever you want. So now I'm going to build a really, really quick drum loop, I guess. Now there's a few ways that I could build a drum loop. Oh, I do like that snare. So one way to build a drum loop would be to play it live in the way that I just showed you. Another way to build a drum loop would be to sequence it. I'm going to show a really quick example of how this sequencer works. Okay, so one way to build a drum loop would be to play it live. Oops. Would be to play live. Another way to play a drum loop, or to have drums, to make drums, will be to sequence them. Now, you can't really see from the computer, but this little window that's kind of floating around and moving is a drum sequencer. It actually is a on-screen representation of the thing that I'm holding in my hand. Like, if you get close enough and you look at it, oh my god, I'm so sorry, everybody. If you look at that thing, how there's like the groupings of the four squares with the line on it, and then you look at this, it's kind of the same thing. It's just this is software version of it. This is the hardware version of it. And so if I'm going to be sequencing drums, you could go into the drum pattern like so, and you can click out notes. And so if I wanted to on the floor, I could do that. Now, because I have the hardware, I can also use a sequencer within the hardware, so it lights up that, and you can see this little like, ooh, I'm starting from the wrong side. This little like doohickey going through the buttons. Those lights. That's like the timeline. So if you put notes on the timeline, it's going to generate sound as the lights pass it. The top notes being, that's a kick. Let me assign colors to them. So I'm going to make the kick for this experiment. I'm going to make it red. I'm going to make the hi-hat for this experiment blue. And I'm going to make the snare. Somebody give me a color for snare. Because drums are all the same color to me. I do a lot of colors for like instruments, but I always make my drums black. But for this particular experiment, it won't help if the drums are black. Thank you, green. Jody says green. That is fine. Red, blue, green. Remember, the kick is red, so it's going to make a kick sound every time the lights pass a red one. Hi-hats are blue, and they're just underneath it. And then green would be the snare. So another way to make a drum loop would be to sequence them this way. And then we could put this underneath the we could put this underneath sorry, I'm trying to sequence and talk at the same time. We can put this underneath the loop that we just made. It's not like that. Does that make sense? Now there is a way to get slightly, I guess, more technical in this, which is how people do when they're going to do, what is that MIDI controller called? It's called an Akai Fire. Got to go to work, says Taylor Nicole. Thank you for being on the stream, Taylor Nicole. I hope you have a good day at work. Also, thank you for helping me identify that plant recently. I kind of knew you would know. I feel like people have their person. People have their person that's like really smart about certain things. And I feel like there isn't a plant question you don't know the answer to. And so I can always come to you with weird plant trivia. So another way to create these things, which is very popular in lo-fi hip-hop, especially if you aren't particularly adept at live drumming, right? Like doing it by hand. Because if you listen to a lot of lo-fi hip-hop, it's going to have unquantized beats. Unquantized just means not on the line. So if you look at this ahead, you'll see a grid. You'll see a grid. And it's going to generally, I mean, you can pick a like a magnet so that it'll snap to a certain beat. It's going to be on the first, second, third, and fourth, or it'll be on eighth or 16ths or whatever. Um, boom, cut, boom, boom, cut. And so if you listen to a lot of lo-fi hip-hop, it's unquantized, just meaning that it's not snapped to the beats. It's more kind of wishy-washy. It's all over the place. And that creates a human kind of loose feel, which some people don't like. Fair enough. But if you're trying to get us that lo-fi hip hop sound, which takes a lot of inspirations from jazz, jazz is very unquantized and not always on the beat. It's very loose. So a lot of people do that in a lot of people will do that in lo-fi hip hop for their drums specifically. So I'm gonna start by just putting a bunch of hi-hats to. So it's gonna look like that. Now you can take the hi-hats and kind of move them around to make it like slightly off. And then add a little kick here. That'll be roughly how I made a lot of the stuff on lo-fi hip-hop. Lo-fi hip-hop. Wow, I'm so sorry, guys. That's how I made most of the stuff that's on Lustream. And it was just because a lot of lo-fi hip-hop tears samples from old recordings. And I just wanted to make music that had that wonky feel, that had that sampled sound, but didn't necessarily, what's the word? Take other people's music. It didn't involve stealing from people. So, we could take this one step further, right? If we want to give it that sound, we want to give it that sampled sound. So here's our sample already. That's what it sounds like. Now, there's a lot of filters you can apply to something to give it more of a boop, 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 boop. Oof. Well, that's just it played way out of key, like down quite a few pitches. That was on accident, but that is a thing that a lot of people will do if they want to give it that sound. That actually does sound cool. But playing with the pitch is like a big one. So I'm gonna play it right now, and I'm gonna mess with the pitch a little bit. Now I have the pitch tied to the speed, so as I raise the pitch it'll get faster, and as I drop the pitch it'll get slower. But what I want to do is I want to make sure, and one technique, you want to make sure that it's still on beat with the song. So if you take the sample or the song that you've made, and you stretch it to a new BPM, because this is at 100 BPM, but you can stretch it to be, sorry, let me make sure that I, alter all these other ones so that they stretch too. Really stupid technical stuff that doesn't really matter, but it's gonna mess me up visually if I don't do that. Okay, so we can make it so that I can stretch the entire track to, let's say, 80 BPM, which is 20%, sorry. Wait, no, that is 20%. Just so happens that it was easily dividable with 100. So it's 20% slower than it was before. But it kept the same pitch, you'll notice. But you can take ooh, whoa. Relax. You can take the pitch and you can drop it. And then you can take that and you can even stretch that to, say, 60 BPM maybe? Dun, 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 dun. It's so funny. Sorry, I do have fun doing this. It's like a stupid game for me. This is like video games. Okay, anyways, so we're actually gonna mess up the pitch because I'm gonna show you a couple more styles to do it. Because sometimes where's a sample from, or is that you playing? That's me playing. Oh, you must have missed the first part of the stream. So this that I'm playing right now is actually what I recorded at the very beginning of the stream. I'll play it so that you have a quick, I guess, example. That's the piano from it. I used this keyboard over here to record it. So that is the origin of the sample, is just the first 15 minutes or so of this stream. I played it on my keyboard. And so you can take that sample. Why am I at 180 BPM right now? Oh, I was supposed to be in 100. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be in 100 BPM. Okay, so now you can take that and you can warp it out of time. So what happens a lot of times when people are taking samples from other people's songs is, one, it'll be way too slow, way too fast, or they actually don't have a detectable BPM in it, or even worse or better, depending on your taste, the BPM will warp throughout the song. Now, a lot of old recordings, especially jazz recordings, weren't necessarily performed to a metronome. So if you set a metronome to them, unless the drummer is phenomenal at keeping time to a metronome, which, who cares? They'll usually fall out of time a little bit, which can create this kind of offset or limping rhythm for the song. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to stay in 180. I mean, we're going to stay in 100. We're going to stay in 100 BPM, which would sound like that. We're going to stay there. But we're going to drop the sample out of time and see what that renders us. And fair warning, it's going to sound awful at first. It's going to sound like trash. So we're going to take this and we're going to stretch it. Oh my God. Why does that happen every time? We're going to stretch it out of time. Oh yeah, that's dope. Okay. Why is its pitch staying the same though? I don't want to pitch lock it anymore. I don't want to do that. So we're going to resample it. We're going to go. Yeah. Okay. It's extremely out of time. It's too slow. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut it now. There's a X-Acto knife tool that you can use to kind of slice a beat into two parts and then drag the other parts somewhere else. I don't know how visual or visible this is. Let me try to make them fatter. So you can cut things, you can move them, you can put them back together. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut and in the style of like a collage to fit things, kind of like my posters that I make. I don't know if you pay attention to my posters, but this is usually me taking like pictures that I've taken with friends or show flyers and cutting them so that they'll fit kind of specifically into a certain space. Like if you look really close, like they're kind of like specific, like there's stickers inside of stickers, there's stickers in the cracks between stickers, there's show flyers, there's photos of friends. I like to do that sonically in songs sometimes. And the way you can do it is with a knife, in the same way that you would do it with stickers. So, ooh yeah, ooh, ooh. Okay, okay, okay. I gotta redo the drums. Ooh yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so now that we have a slightly new kick rhythm, I'm gonna move this up because this is really annoying me. It needs to be closer. Okay, let's take out that knife again. I'm gonna add a quick filter to this. So ignore this, but I just want to. I'm trying to get a very specific timbre from it, and I need to cut out some of the lows to get that. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna need that little piece there too. I gotta cut out some more of the lows. Yeah, we can like use that. I'm gonna probably change the pitch of this again though, but that's okay. Whoa! Oh, never mind. I need to like take this. So I don't like that the strings are coming so late here. So what I'm gonna do is chop that string part off. Yeah. So the cool thing about the repitching and the mixing out. So what a lot of times will happen in sampling is people will have a bass line in the song, or they'll have things in the song. they don't want. Weird artifacts, maybe it's vocal, maybe it's whatever. And sometimes you can mix things out with an EQ. When I say mix things out, I just mean if there's a bass line in the song, sometimes if you take an EQ and you just roll out low frequencies, you can kind of quiet the bass. Like the bass won't bleed through the same way that it could, and it allows you to add other elements in the low end, in the low frequency range that aren't going to clash with what was originally in the track. So a lot of times, what I'll do to my own samples is I'll get rid of my own bass. This is very convoluted, by the way, because I wrote that bass line. But what I'll do is I'll mix out the bass line, so it has, in essence, you can still hear part of it, but it's barely there. And then oh, it's not even plugged in. Hold on. Sorry, there's like this keyboard. It's my newest keyboard. It's my newest keyboard, and so it still has. I still need to kind of resave some of the patches on it, or make new patches to save. But I also haven't memorized them. But there's a really good bass in here that I like, and it's just because it's basically a like a sub bass, but since this keyboard is analog, it kind of has like more of a richer tone than the bass would in the Yamaha that's right beneath it. I'm so close to it. I know I am. Oof. Oofy, oofy, oofy. I'm gonna need a toothy. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Ooh. Alright. Okay. Do diddle do diddle do. So interesting. They're all basses. Oh, I think I just figured something out. I think I figured out something weird. This is This is not the time. But I do think I just figured out something cool. But let me get back to where I was. All right. I'll do one more pass at that. Wait a bit. Okay, so I think it's not, what's the word? It's not sidechained anymore. That's the word. So let me get rid of this really quick, the bass line just said. Go with 3 exhaust. Whoa, I forgot how high the camera was. I think I might go with 3 exhaust for bass, which is kind of a built-in FL Studio. If you use FL Studio, it's like the bare minimum synthesizer, but I love using it for sub frequencies because it has, 3 sine waves on it. We all know that sine waves are made out of, subs are made out of sine waves. So that's just an undisputable fact we all know on the stream. Use your brain. What are you trying to do? I need to unplug my sequencer, and I need to plug in my reface. Workflow is really important to me, guys. I still haven't achieved it, but it's very important, I assure you. Okay. Now I can make the sound of a sub bass on this keyboard. But I want it to be quite a bit deeper than that. Like that. Woo-wee. Okay, and I need to... What do I need to do? I need to make it monophonic, which basically just means you can only play one note at a time. You guys understand what that means? Yeah. Ooh, and I can cut it, which is really nice. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna record MIDI of this pattern of that bass line. And a 1, 2, 3. Okay. And so the nice thing about that is now that I have these nice little notes, you can kind of see them here, these little MIDI notes. I can pull them up on a piano roll, so now I can see what they look like on the piano, and I can cut them so that they're perfectly cut with the sample that I have chopped up. Hopefully, hopefully, I played it perfectly, but just in case I didn't, I'm gonna cut them. Maybe I can drop it down instead of bringing it up. Oh my god. Well, maybe, I don't know. No, bring it up, bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. You can't hear everybody on there. Okay, so now we're going to zoom out, and we're going to make all these notes the same velocity. Velocity is how hard you hit the note, but let's just pretend it means volume for the sake of this stream. I'm going to make them all the same loudness or velocity, and then I'm going to take the bass, and I'm going to send it to track 2, and take the kick, and I'm going to sidechain to the bass, basically doing the same thing to the bass that we did to the sample, how it kind of ducks underneath the kick drum. I want that to be on the bass as well, so that the bass isn't overcrowding the drums. Also, so this is one way to make a sample that's chopped to a drum. I'm going to show one more style to do this before I end the stream. So the first style was obviously just doing it raw, where the sample itself fit with the drums. A really quick example of the way that sounded again was this. Remember, that's what the original sample sounded like, and then we turned it into this. So 2 slightly different sounds. Now, a sound that I started messing with a lot in Ego Death was a lot of reverse. Now, reversing stuff can be kind of annoying and finicky at times, especially if you're using hardware to do it, but I'm not going to get so much in depth into like the sequencing and the arrangement involved in having reverse instruments for compositions. I'm going to instead just show one way that I could have done that for this particular beat. So let's take the sample again, the original sample. I'm going to go ahead and consolidate it one more time. So, the sample. We've got that again. I'm going to go ahead and reverse it. Ooh, hold on 1 second. Let me, because I do like the way this sounds, but the strings are interfering with it. And the nice thing, folks, about making your own samples is if you don't like a part that's in the song, since you made it, you can go in and just take it out. You don't have to worry about like, oh, this sample's so great, but this weird person singing ruins it, because you're the one singing. Anyways, I don't like the way the strings sound in it when I reverse it, so I'm going to go ahead and take the strings out. I'm going to reconsolidate it, which basically just means to export it again as its own song. And now that I have a version of it without strings, I'm going to drag that over here. Now I'm going to reverse that and play it backwards. Now I'm going to add a bunch of reverb to it for no good reason. I'm gonna take this piece. Ooh, I don't like that boy's stuck on the end right there. Let's slide him out. I'm gonna take that piece. Ooh. I like it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use this part, that part, that part, and that part, and then I'm just gonna loop that last part, so that it makes a nice 3-chord progression, and it's going to sound really messy, but that's kind of part of it. Oh, hold on. It goes to... and then... oh, I fixed it. It was out of sequence. Well, there technically isn't a right sequence right now, but I found the sequence that works for me. So now I can get rid of this. I can get rid of my reflex again. And now I can briefly bring back my Akai Fire. Also, I do have to mention that usually I have a bunch of MIDI cables plugged in into all my gear into my computer. But last night I was, let's just say last night I had to unplug them because I was working on a really weird project that required me to use all of my, my MIDI controllers not in MIDI. So remember, this is saved in its own subcategory, but we can take the kick and we can sidechain to this too in the same way that we sidechain it to everything else, and we go ahead and add a limiter here, and then we go to compression, sidechain to 1, threshold down, knee up slightly, and then we can add drums. An interesting part. I like to take a bunch of like random percussion sounds, right? Let me just open up. That's not a very good random percussion folder. Let me open up a good percussion folder. Ooh. So let's just go ahead and start loading stuff in here. That's a bongo. That's fine. That's a high bongo. That's also fine. I'm now deciding. Half of these things sound super similar. But that's good. Not going to use that. Am going to use that. I wish I could randomize colors. That's one thing that Fruity Loops can't do. And I feel like I'm one of the only people in the world that actually wants that. So it's never coming. It's not even something they're thinking about doing. ago. Just a lot of sounds that don't have a lot of ring out on them, you know? If that makes sense. And then a wood block. So we have a lot of noises here. We're going to assign colors to all of them because screw me. And I need to have color and sound or else the sounds don't make any sense. I really hope there's somebody else that has the same problem with percussion. Okay, so we assigned a bunch of random colors to the drums. And this allows us to scroll. So you'll see we can scroll through them. So I'm just going to start like hitting random buttons. It's going to sound like garbage. Now, the most important thing is it's going to sound like garbage. But I like to kind of splatter stuff onto the... Ooh, I like the flash effect this is having on the phone because of the way it was refreshing. Anyways, I like splashing paint on the... Ooh, on the canvas and then going in and editing out the picture. Whoa, there's nothing there. Those guys aren't even getting any. So just the pattern itself is gonna sound like this. Oh, that actually sounds good. Never mind. See, that was just me hitting a bunch of random buttons. It'll sound okay if you just take a bunch of percussion sounds and like bongos and you just randomly place them on a sequencer. It'll just sound like Okay, so we're gonna take that. We're gonna turn down a lot of these percussion things because I know they sound surprisingly okay, but we're gonna turn them down a lot. So they sound more like just kind of like a background loop or a background fill. We're going to leave the kick loud though because the kick is what's side chaining the track. So it sounds like that. And then we're gonna put that on top of the reverse song. Why does it look like that? Jesus Christ. Sorry. Sorry, it just looked really weird. Let's see if I can hear it. I like the second one more. So we're gonna record Yeah, I'm just gonna use the second one. I like the second one better. I must say, I prefer the second one. Oh, so we'll do that, and then we're gonna get one more. That's maybe two more that are like marimbas. Different sounds. Okay. I'm gonna record two of them. Just one more, I'm gonna make it like super high. And I'm only gonna record it in the first one, and then I can just duplicate that same thing. Okay. So I'm gonna take that, I'm going to chop it, and I'm going to copy and paste it over here. And I'm gonna copy that and paste that here. And then I'm gonna move all of this up there. And then I'm gonna take the drums and slide them down here. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. And then everything's way too loud. And I'm not going to do too much mixing because this isn't a real song, this is just a stream, and I'm just trying to prove a point. That everybody can make. Oh, I have an idea. Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's the general idea of how you can go from a sample. The sample again in the beginning was, ooh, not that high is what it was. take that sample, you can add bass to it, you can add drums to it, you can add strings to it, and you can make it sound like this. Then you can take that same thing and you can add drums to it, and side chain the sample to the kick. To kind of get a sampled sound, right? Like if I released that and people didn't know my process, they would probably assume that that was a sample. Maybe a sample from some old jazzy or like a soundtrack. I don't know, you should do anime soundtracks. They give me one of those. But then you can also stretch it out of time, and chop it, which would get you this sound. And you can also have the original sample and you can play it in reverse and add a bunch of random drums to it and bells to give it a different sound. So this is the 50th stream, and this stream was mostly a production stream. And the stream, I wanted to make a song, but it kind of turned out to just be how you can take a simple chord progression that's like 2 to 4 chords, and you could build like a plethora of different sounds out of them. A plethora of different sounds. So if you listen to something like Lush Dream is filled with samples, and a lot of people say, where do you get these samples? You need to put out a sample pack. The samples are just me. I'll usually just make a song. I'll make an entire song, and then I'll just like mess with it a bunch. So we still have to go over news. I apologize. I have to have some level of consistency. If you have any last minute questions about production or just about anything, now would be the time to bring them up, because there's only a few minutes left of this. Wow, wasn't Rose piano over here? Wow, I missed the keyboard. It's been a while. Alright. Safe Room, White Stars, Summer in January, Small Spark. I do like Small Spark, actually. Now I don't know which ones we're naming anymore. Alright, everybody. I did play a show on New Year's Eve. It was amazing. If you weren't there, I'm super sorry. Where did I get this dope shirt? Ooh, there was a store called Sam Goody. No, there was a store called FYE, For Your Entertainment, I think what it stood for. It sold records and movies and some video games, and they were having a blowout sale. This was maybe over 10 years ago, or whenever Bioshock 2 came out, and this shirt was like $3, and I was like, you bet your keister it's $3. I also bought a Mass Effect 2 shirt at the same time. So I did play a show on New Year's Eve. It was a lot of fun. I played some unreleased stuff. I played some. Now I'm just playing the song that I sampled. Good morning, Afro Addy. You missed quite the party, but I'm glad that you're having a pleasant morning, and thank you for taking the time to come to the stream. So, I played a show on New Year's Eve. It was fun. It was great. Played some old stuff, played some new stuff, played some unreleased stuff, played some stuff that'll never be released. But it was my last show of 2019, and I'm glad for everybody who came and for anybody who watched the live stream. It was really nice. I was out far too late, though. I'm glad that it's uplifted you a bit, Leanna. You're always uplifting to the stream. You're always really positive. And I'm still very thankful for your help on naming Double Lutz. Think about you whenever I play it. I also think about ice skating, which I haven't had the opportunity to do in a really long time. Another little bit of news, guys. I did put out 2 albums. One of them is called Quick Breath, and the other one is called Ego Death. Ego Death and Quick Breath. They came out last year, but they're still new. They're still fresh. Lots of very talented artists featured on it, as well as an artist who did the album art for both of them, which tied together to make one full photo if you have indeed seen the album art. Those can be found and listened to on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon MP3, Tidal, Deezer, Pandora, Napster, and YouTube, which we're on right now. I have a few videos that I have shot and uploaded to YouTube. I mean, music videos for songs that I've made. Mostly songs from Lush Dream, which came out 2 years ago now, which is kind of exciting. As well as... Wait. Yeah, that's 2 years ago. Wow, 2018. God, that year just completely passed me by. Anyways, 2 years ago now, I released Lush Dream, and there's a lot of videos for it up on my YouTube. But Quick Breath and Ego Death also have a few visuals that I have shot. And some unreleased songs, like the one that I play at the end of the stream, as well as Into Thin Air. That has a video that I shot actually on a plane while I was leaving Hong Kong. Another bit of news, I do have some merch coming out this year. The holidays are finally over, so I can finally get to work on actually making that and talking to the person that I'm going to be making the merchandise with. And as far as streams, guys, we made it 50 streams. You guys are here. You guys really showed up for the 50th one. I do appreciate you. This might be the biggest crowd that we've had in a minute. And I haven't been as attentive as maybe I could have been because I was busy doing the thing. So usually the stream is mostly me just playing piano here, doing a lot of improv and writing new songs, as well as playing some old treasured tunes. As far as the stream schedule, though, we are going to continue the schedule of every weekday morning at 9 a.m. I realize that this stream is longer than they usually are. They're only usually an hour long, and this one is an hour and a half. But I did want to pack as much information as I could into this YouTube stream. So thank you all for being here for it and for me. I think that covers the news. Any last minute questions, now would be the time to ask them, because this is the song that I close the stream with. I am so hungry, by the way. My body is trained to like wake up, work out, do this stream, and then eat immediately afterwards. And since the stream has been so long, I can like feel my stomach being confused. Like, what the heck is going on? So this song is called, it's a really, really short tune. But this song is called Hush Hour, and I wrote it also in Hong Kong. And the music video for it on my YouTube right now is also shot in Hong Kong from my hotel window. Thank you, everybody, for being respectful to me and polite to each other. Also, thank you for liking the video. I didn't even have to ask this time. People just liked it anyway. I appreciate that. Today is Thursday. I spent all of yesterday thinking today was Thursday, so I got a bonus day today. Cyber says, what would you do with $1 million? Which will, I guess, be the last question of the stream. What would I do with $1 million? I would spend it, Cyber. I would spend about half of it. Would I spend $1 million? Hold on. I don't actually think I would spend it all at once. I think I would just continue to live in the apartment that I live in, and I would travel a lot. I would say that 50 to 80% of that money would just be me traveling or taking extended stays in other countries. Because I don't really need more gear. I have too much gear as it is, as we saw in this video. I don't really need like a car or anything. I kind of just want to travel. Traveling is really expensive, and it's one of those things that you kind of need a lot of money to be able to do often and effectively, I guess. Good question though, Cyber. Good question. Again, everybody, thank you for being respectful to me and polite to each other. With a bigger crowd, one would always expect for people to be a little bit more rambunctious and rude, but it didn't seem like you guys were, so thank you for being nice in general. Today is Thursday, which means that tomorrow is the last stream of the week. I also might be going to Universal Studios with my friend tomorrow. I have to check my schedule and see if I'm free to do such. But if I am, I will. If I'm not, I will not. Abo, everybody. I'm gonna go make breakfast.